Sometimes they say follow your heart, and sometimes when your heart is in so many pieces, you don't know which one to follow. They inflicted that damage on you, and now you do not know which one to follow.
Actually, I was in a pandemic, I was in a pandemic before we got into this pandemic, Hey gems, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. Thank you so much. As you've read by the title, I think plenty of us, male or female, we have dated a narcissist before. And I know the word has literally been thrown around, but the truth of the matter is that a lot of people do exhibit narcissistic traits, and sometimes it's just best for us to call a spade a spade. So in today's video, we are going to be watching Breeny Lee's video. Now, let me just take a moment to just say a very big thank you to Breeny Lee, okay? I've met her a couple of times and she's so lovely. And I listened to her podcast. I've really enjoyed her growth over the years. Honestly, Breeny, from a big sister to you, I love you. Now to today's video, narcissism. The first time I came across the concept of narcissism was when I came across Breeny Lee's video. Now, I had watched plenty of her videos, but when I saw the narcissism one, I was like, what's that? So I ignored that video for the longest time until I think sometime in 2019. That was a year after she had posted that video, and I thought, let me just listen to this video. And it was as if Breeny Lee and myself had been dating the same person. I was like, you are describing my partner. All this time I thought I was crazy, and it gave me so much validation that someone at the end of the screen, the other side of the screen, could relate to me and could relate to my experience. So in today's video, as much as she's using Paul as Chioma would say, from Blue Therapy as a case study, I am going to be giving a different spin on it because I was codependent and I was a people pleaser, hence continually enabling and fostering the dynamic of the narcissistic and codependency dance in the relationship. So I'll be giving a different spin on it from the codependency side of things, because I think Chioma, as much as we love Chioma, she does have certain traits in her that continues to enable the poor and negative behavior in Paul. And I will also be sharing my testimony in between and certain gems that you can learn from, especially if you have people-pleasing behavior or tendencies, as well as codependency tendencies. That was such a mouthful. So yeah, if you do enjoy this video, please hit the like button. It's my humble goal to hit 7K by the end of the year, and by your doing, by clicking that subscribe button, that helps me reach my goal and reach many more people, so that we can continue on this journey together. Okay, now let's just get right into the video because it's gonna be a long one. All right, let's go.
There's so much to talk about. There's so many different things to get into. There's Deborah, there's Jamel, there's Chioma. But what I want to talk about in this video, and what I know I need to talk about in this video, is Paul, as Chioma will call him, Paul's narcissism, okay? I have been meaning to make an updated narcissism video. I actually made one 3 years ago, so I feel like this is the perfect opportunity for you guys to see what narcissism looks like in action. And of course, I don't know Paul, but as Paul put himself forward for a social experiment, he has given us free reign to critique him and to criticize him. And the one thing that narcissists do not like is to be criticized, because they like to maintain control. Well, I'm sorry, boo. You gave away your control and your rights when you decided to go on the show. So you are a lady and you've been watching Blue Therapy and you've been watching Paul's antics, Jamel's antics. I know that you guys have been triggered, and it's not so much to do with the characters on the show. It's more so to do with us relating back to the experiences that we've had in our own lives dealing with men exactly like Paul. And we also, as women, we relate to the collective pain of other women. So Chioma, okay, we feel her pain. Like, we feel her pain. And I know as I was watching it, there were some moments I was cringing. I was like, girl, if I could just shake you. But it is my delight to announce that Chioma has broken up the relationship with Paul.
Now, let me take this time to define what codependency is. Codependency essentially is putting someone else's needs, their wants, their desires, their thoughts, their feelings ahead of your own. Most of the time, they tend to be empaths. They tend to be the people who like to save people, who like to overhelp, people that like to fix people, all at the cost of themselves. They never really consider what's best for themselves. They haven't had the chance to learn or build those kind of muscles. They hope that by sacrificing themselves, betraying their wants, their needs, their desires, and pouring themselves into this other person, they in turn expect that the other person will love them more, not reject them, value them, give them the love and attention that they need. This is coming from a place of lack.
And sometimes you just need you just need other people to see or put on display what you've been dealing with in private. And anyone that's dealt with a narcissist understands that it's the most crippling, frustrating relationship that you could ever be in. And most people don't understand what it feels to be with a narcissist, because on the outside, everything looks great. They show themselves to be a provider, someone that takes care of business, someone that is qualified, someone that looks good. And that's one of the deceptive things about narcissists, is they always look good on the outside. It's not until you come inside the home that you actually realize that this person is full of
narcissists. They are takers, okay? They take in order to feed themselves, in order to fill their void. Whereas codependents, they give in order to fill that void in themselves. So it's just this dynamic where you keep going on and on and on. That's why they are the perfect victim for narcissists. They have this extreme need and desire to meet other people's expectations. The focus is heavily on the outside, never on themselves. What is the other person feeling? What is the other person wanting? And thinking about it, that isn't bad. It isn't bad in and of itself. However, if you are pouring out from an empty place, it will result into you feeling emotions such as bitterness, resentment, rather than really pouring out because you genuinely want to help. This essentially is you're pouring out because you want to be filled. But there comes a point where, because you've morphed and familiarized yourself so much, you kind of start losing yourself. You just morph until you reach your breaking point, and then most of the time that is the time that they discard you, or you come to the realization that actually this is enough for me. So imagine with Chioma being in this relationship for 3 years. At a point in time, you start to become guarded, and we'll go into that in more detail very soon. But I just wanted to lay out the playing field so that we understood that, in case we saw ourselves in Chioma, this is some of the things that we can bear in mind going forward.
But let's get into this video. And I just want to show you guys a quick clip that I made that puts Paul's narcissism on full display. Check this out.
What defines someone to be a narcissist?
A narcissist, it's a person who lacks empathy, who's really entitled, meaning that they expect special treatment to be given to them, but nobody else.
I understand, bald head, beard, I'm a hunky guy.
They're very grandiose, they harbor huge fantasies, they only want to affiliate with people they think are as cool or as interesting as they are.
I literally work with high net worth individuals, influencers, celebrities. I have a good number of very decent high net worth clients. I have affluent people that I associate myself with. Also my clients are quite wealthy too.
They're very superficial. They're very concerned about their appearance, the appearance of people around them. I always think of them as beautiful facades with not a lot behind them.
You're now telling her to ask me what she wants from me when she is the one that is ruining our brand.
Our brand? How is my Instagram got anything to do with you? Because I'm dancing, I'm humiliating myself, and I'm humiliating us as a couple. Come off your high horse.
They don't regulate their emotions very well. They're very prone to throwing tantrums, getting angry very quickly, especially if they don't get their way.
It's getting nobody anywhere.
Exactly, and that's why the fuck I'm leaving
something that you have
wasting my
nothing to
time.
do with?
You, thank you and no thank you.
What are you claiming?
Can someone
Where
carry
are you
this
going?
equipment, please?
Where are you going? I knew he was going to walk out at some point. He likes to run away from problems, and that's what he's done now.
Yeah, privacy? Yeah, am I gonna have privacy? Will you give me a minute?
And they can be really hypersensitive to criticism. They're willing to dole it out, but they absolutely can't take it.
I feel like Chioma's very selfish. What's funny?
How am I selfish? Because I want to cook for you.
Okay, but what's funny though?
The fact you just said I'm selfish.
So
what does
when
that
you
mean?
were talking, I wasn't nothing.
No,
They tend to be jealous.
She posts a picture, beautiful, right? Now, if she has a comment from a guy, love struck, then if she's liking and commenting on it, oh, thanks, hun, do you think that's necessary?
I can post a selfie and a man can comment. Bearing in mind, yeah, this could be a man I don't know, or it could be one of my male friends. Paul would have an issue with that. I will hear headache. He will tell me to delete the comment. So why are you liking it? I am friendly by nature. For example, we could go out for dinner and I could wear a really nice dress. Paul would not say anything. He'll take the picture at the end of the evening and I can post in that dress and people will love the dress. All of a sudden he'll say, oh, the dress is nice, but why are they commenting? Why are they doing this? Why couldn't you say it before? To me, it's like, he's probably upset because I get the attention that he's not giving me. I trust you and I feel as though you wouldn't cheat. So why don't you give me that same trust?
They engage in something called gaslighting, where they literally doubt your own reality, leaving you feeling like you've gone crazy.
Babe.
His sister hates me.
Babe.
And he thinks that it's normal.
Babe, you need healing, babe.
Go away, man, because you're not listening to me.
In the last 6 months, have you weighed yourself? I'm just asking.
What?
Okay. Have you ever calculated your calorie intake?
They don't tend to be very loyal. They do tend to throw temper tantrums. They get pleasure out of the misery of other people. They're kind of mean. Gaslighting looks like, literally, like I said, when somebody kind of denies your reality. So you might say something like, I feel really sad that you said that to me. And they'd say something like, you have no right to say that. You have no right to feel that way. And you'll have an argument with them. And they will have said something terrible to you a couple of days before. And you'll say, listen, when you said, and they'll say, I never said that. And so it's literally like they deny your reality. And when somebody says, I never said that, most normal people tend to question themselves.
Things were a bit different.
In what way? I've gained weight.
I did say that.
Then what then? What's the problem?
Well, would you know if you gained weight?
All my clothes still fit, so I wouldn't think I've gained weight.
Would you know?
I guess, yeah. I haven't gained weight. Have I gained weight? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, I'm not trying to say you gained weight, but since we're on the topic, let's have the discussion. So,
This is like the guy who's like, I need a hot girlfriend.
Right.
You know, it's that kind of a model of like, I need to look good, but my partner makes me look good.
Paul met me on Instagram. Can we deep that? Can we take that in? Like, he met me on this same platform he no longer wants me to post. This same platform that he doesn't like the way I carry myself was the same platform he came to me on. Is this making sense to anyone? Because I'm confused. He was in my DMs and now all of a sudden I should stop responding to them. He was in the comments, he was liking the pictures. Now he doesn't even follow me.
let me give you a tiny bit of coaching now. There's a difference between a brand and the face of a brand.
People who are narcissistic often feel very empty inside. And that emptiness is a very difficult thing to fill. And even if they meet someone who's not narcissistic and fall in love with them, the problem is that poor person who's not narcissistic will often feel really unheard in that relationship.
I love this man, I really do, but he just doesn't he doesn't see from my perspective. I don't even feel I don't know if he loves me. That's just the honest truth.
This is absolutely true. And until I was actually in a relationship with someone who was narcissistic, had you told me this characteristic or this trait or this disorder even existed, I would have said you're exaggerating, because I never thought that human beings could be like this. I was very naive and innocent. So until I actually experienced it, I would have never believed it. But when I went through it, then I realized, oh my goodness, I was not actually going crazy. I always felt like the crazy one, because the narcissist on the outside, they have charisma. They know they have that mask on. And because outsiders further acknowledged and validated his reality that I needed to adopt, it further made me doubt my own reality and made me feel even more crazier. And at a point I used to think, is it all in my head? And because I was isolated from family members, loved ones and friends, I honestly did not have a reality. My reality was through this person's eyes. Yeah, anything he said really became my reality, because I had no outside influence or no outside connection or communication to really authenticate those pieces of information. So I just took on the person that he said I was, the reality that he thrust upon me. And because I wasn't really grounded within myself, Jemima 1.0, don't worry, I'm scraping Jemima 3.0 right about now, but you know, it does get better. And when I came out of that relationship, it took a lot out of me. I mean, like mentally, even though I wasn't there physically, mentally and emotionally, it was as if the relationship was still in me. That's how much trauma I went through. Therapy helped tremendously, as well as my family members and my friends and my loved ones. Thank you guys so much. Because anytime I would explain or share any of the things that I had experienced, literally their faces would drop, like their mouths will drop, like, what did you just say? And my response is, well, wasn't that normal? And it was just this sheer innocence that I had in me and this naivety that I had in me. Just thinking that this behavior was just normal. This is what happens in relationships. When people say, you know, relationships have its ups and downs, in my head, I was thinking, this is it. Because I had spent all my years trying to accommodate the behavior. So it had essentially become so normal to me to just familiarize myself, you know, just twist here, tweak there, just to make sure that harmony was in the household. And all along, it was all manipulation. So just to shed a little bit more light into why this would happen and why people tolerate this, or why people stay as long as they do, and why the circumstances can literally cripple them to make them stay exactly where they are for years on end. If at any point in time when you were growing up in your childhood, because everything stems from our childhood, our parents and our caregivers, that's where it all the programming and all the conditioning, that's where it stems from. If you grew up in a kind of background where in your home emotions, feelings, honesty, you know, all these things weren't really welcome, you weren't really able to be your true self. Maybe sometimes you even felt ashamed or dirty or vulnerable to really share different parts of yourself in that family, or even sometimes you would even be punished for how you feel. All of these things causes you to suppress your needs, causes you to suppress your wants, your desires, your thoughts even. So sometimes you really grow up just not knowing what you want or even what you need. And also feeling ashamed for even wanting the things that you want or needing the things that you need. Because all the things that you require from your caregivers and your family, you just didn't get it. So literally, if you constantly had your emotional needs and wants ignored, you end up developing a wound. you feel like you're not enough, there's something wrong with you, that's why you're not getting your needs and your wants met. And I'm talking about childhood, you know, like you're a child. You're not like an adult that you're meant to look after yourself. You are a child, and it's somebody's responsibility to take care of you. If that was taken away from you, you end up growing up suppressing that side of you or stunting that growth, okay? Because you haven't really been put into settings where that muscle will be developed. And on the flip side, if as a child you were expected to meet these very high standards and high expectations, and sometimes you were just not able to meet them consistently or even exceed them, you just grow up thinking that you were never enough, or nothing is ever good enough for your caregivers or your parents, and just generally you are not enough.
So this video is going to be an analysis of the character Paul Bridges, and I know full well his mum did not name him Paul, and I don't know what white man he stole his surname from, because your surname, darling, is not Bridges. But just on the onset and our first introduction to Paul.
Hello, Paul. How is the traffic?
Terrible.
Oh,
but
is
we're
it?
here. We made it.
Paul is not a happy person. You can look into his eyes and see that his eyes are dead. Not only watching Blue Therapy, but watching his other interviews, watching his lives, you can look into his eyes and see that he is not a happy person. He's got dead eyes. He talks with a very monotone voice. He's almost emotionless. He does a lot of talking with his head, but his heart you'll never really be able to penetrate. He's very stiff and rigid. When I first watched the first episode, people were calling him an uncle, and I didn't really see why they were calling him an uncle, but he's very rigid. His mind is very rigid, very unmoving, very unreasonable, very hard to talk to, right? He's like a block of wood, like literally wood. And he is deeply insecure, and I know he gives off this I'm an alpha male, talks about himself a lot. They say empty barrels make the most noise, right? I really despise people that talk about themselves. And I'm not talking about the times when you ask someone, what do they do? But the people that talk about themselves unprovoked. Like, nobody asked you. Nobody asked you for details. Like, nobody asked you. Just take it down a few. And I know what a confident man looks like. But most confident, truly confident people are quiet. It's quiet confidence. Paul has this over exaggeration about himself, which we're going to get into a little bit more in this video. But one thing that sticks out to me about Paul is that he just has to be in control of a situation. Who answers a question with another question? It is so bloody frustrating to talk to someone that does not answer a question directly. And that is one of the traits of a narcissist. Narcissists do not play fair. When having a conversation with a normal person, you are assuming that they are listening to you, that they're trying to understand you, that they have every intention of meeting in the middle. But with a narcissist, you'll notice that there is no intention and
Nope. Absolutely not. They do not intend to meet in the middle. I'm so grateful for content creators like Breeny Lee and other ones that I will list on the screen or down in the description who have helped me just uncover the whole subject matter of narcissism. Honestly, I'm so grateful. They've made me understand that just because you have these qualities like your innocence, you know, purity, gentleness, kindness, all of these things are still great qualities, okay? Oh, meekness as well. Just because somebody took advantage of them doesn't mean you totally have to become this hard and guarded person. And that is something that was outside of myself, and I didn't want to become this very hard person. I wanted to remain soft. It made me understand that you can still be all these things, and you can still exhibit and embody these great qualities and still be able to function well in a relationship. But what you need to ensure you have in place are boundaries, because when you put boundaries in place. You are still honoring yourself, okay? You're still offering help to other people. You know, it's not all about just saying no, no, no. You're still able to say yes here and there in a healthier manner, but you're not like betraying yourself in the process. Honestly, like when I was doing the research for this video, it did become quite triggering for me, but not in the way that the old triggers used to trigger me. Like my old triggers after the relationship, it was really peak. Like randomly you'd be hit by something, you're like, but this trigger was more like, wow, so somebody can really, a human being can live this life exhibiting such behaviors and inflicting such pain on another person that they claim to love. Like that concept, I didn't want to lose hope in humanity. So I really just needed to accept that there are people in this world that genuinely are manipulative, are malicious, and they do not have your best interest at heart. So if you tolerate them, or if you higgy-hagger yourself to make them fit into their mold, then you will lose yourself and they will still be okay with that. I really did not have the courage to leave because I didn't know what I was in. I thought what I was in was normal. I was actually discarded. If you know anything about narcissists, what they do is they discard you. You know, like when you throw something in the bin? Yes, that's discarding something. That's what they do to their partners. That's what they do to human beings in their life. They discard you. They don't just abandon and reject you. They throw you away like you are nothing, because all they saw in you was nothing. And in a way, I'm grateful that they discarded me. In the beginning, I didn't know what was going on, but when I look back, I'm happy that they discarded me, because I'm sure God was looking down like, this stupid girl is still there. He was giving me all types of signs, but I was still there trying to pray and move myself in a way to accommodate and make sure that relationship worked, until it was like, if I do not enter this chat, this girl's going to die. And this is what happened to me. And thankfully, he nudged him to discard me. The events that led to the discarding, it was all very miraculous. One day I will share my testimony in its totality, okay, so bear with me. Yeah, so essentially I'm happy. That's why I do what I do, because I've come across so many of you young ladies and even older women who are still like in this kind of dynamic, and they're thinking to themselves, I wish I heard this piece of information 20 years ago. And you can just hear the pain in their voice, you know, and you can see the pain in their eyes. I remember one of my closest sisters told me that even though I was posting YouTube videos, she could see the sadness and the pain in my eyes. So even though I was smiling and I thought I was bubbly, she could see sadness in my eyes when no one knew what I was going through. And I'm so grateful for people like that in my life. You know who you are. Healing is so important. It's helped me empathize and sympathize, and also become so compassionate to people who do not know any better, because I was there once upon a time. Because honestly, when I knew that Breeny had gone through something that I had gone through, and other people had also shared their experiences in the comment section, as well as in my DMs, as well as emails, I was just so happy, because I was like, wow, I was not crazy, and a lot of people are going through this as well, and I can also shed some light on the situation to get them out of their darkness, you know?
We've eradicated the whole love aspect of our relationship. I'm a woman, I'm not wood. Do you understand? Like, I've got a heart.
Now, this is the problem that I have with women, right?
They have no desire to understand your point of view. And it's almost his agenda not to hear what you are saying, even if you are speaking so plainly.
You're kind of being unfair to me, babe. And you have been for a while. And yeah, I love him and I kind of want to work through this, but I need him to understand and to kind of see what he's doing.
There's so many times in Blue Therapy that we completely understand what Chioma's saying. But meanwhile, here's the point and here's Paul.
You see the conversation we're having now, I wouldn't be able to have it at home with Paul because he gets so heated or he dismisses me. So if I'm
Tell him
expressing,
now what you'd like him to do.
I would like you to give me some love, like some affection. Acknowledge that I'm there. Do you know what I mean? Just, I don't know what to say because, yeah, I don't know. Just,
Babe, you're taking a fucking piss.
This
And you're
man.
Look.
The reason why they're so rigid is because you have to understand that they have a mask on, okay? If they move too much, if they get too much out of character, the mask will fall off. So they have to be rigid. They have to take a stance, a firm stance, because remember, they're pretending here. They're very, very insecure under all of those layers and masks that they've put on. In their minds, they are not human. They're not like mere peasants like us. They are gods who sit above us and we are at their disposal. They cannot show that they're the same. We're all the same. No one's above nobody. No one's special. We're all unique in our own ways. But in their minds, if they accept that reality, that makes them average. But in their minds, they are not average. It keeps them balanced in a very odd way. They have this ideal notion of how they need to be treated, okay? Therefore, all these expectations that they have of the other person, they need to meet those expectations of the narcissist, or else they literally warrant like unleashing wrath on them, World War Z on their partners, just because they did not meet their expectations. Yeah, they will withdraw their affection. They'll start to reject you in ways that they know will affect you. Remember, they are very tactile, or they have tactics. You know, they are very calculated, and most of the time they have had time to really study their victims. I know that was my case because my partner knew me for over 10 years before we got into a relationship, and all these times the mask had not fallen off. So trust me, the mask can stay on as long as they want until they get tired of you. That's when the mask comes off. And when the mask comes off, it can show in various ways. Verbal abuse is their favorite stance. They have unlimited supply, okay, of cussing and just words that really hit you to your core. Up till today, sometimes when I remember some of those things that I was called, it's just so interesting. It doesn't make me cry anymore, and if anything, it makes me laugh because I just understand the pain or the delusion that they go through, you know, or I try to understand that, you know, or acknowledge and accept that some people just are like that and they have unlimited supply of verbal abusive words just to dish out, to really hit you in your core. And I'm not talking about just calling you the B word here or there. I'm talking about deep stuff that really hits your core. If you've been with a narcissist, you know exactly what I mean. It really hits you right here. That's what it is. They want to just wound you. That's it.
And you're laughing. Look. No.
Constantly missing each other. And that's why the therapist has to keep asking them, do you feel like you're on the same page? And it is impossible to be on the same page with a narcissist because they are committed to misunderstanding you. Why? Because his goal is not to get from A to B, which is the purpose of communication. We don't just talk for talking's sake. We talk to make a point. We talk to get through. Conversation is a vehicle, but not Paul. His only agenda is to remain in control.
Absolutely. You have to realize that with a narcissist, they see a light in you, especially when they go for empaths, because they do their research. Trust me, they don't just pick victims just like that. They study their victims and they have to be perfect candidates for them in order to ensure they get their narcissistic supply. And they tend to go for people who are wounded, have low self-esteem, but are unaware of it. They don't want brokenness as well. They want people who are filled with some kind of innocence and light so that they can zap that out of them. Yeah, like physically, I remember like I looked like crap. When I look at my pictures, back then when I looked at the pictures, I was like, is that what I was seeing? Obviously now I've got quarantine weight that I'm trying to lose, but you know, it's a healthy glow. But back then, oh Jesus Christ, my dad said I looked like a homeless person who lives on a desert. Oh gosh. That's how bad it was. It was so bad. Like, if I look back, everything was low. Mentally, I was low. Physically, I was low. Emotionally, I was low. The only thing that kept me going was spiritually. I have a devotional that I do every single night, and I've been doing 8 years in 8 years in a row. I keep saying 8 years, but literally it's 10 years now, because I got the book in 2011 when I finished uni after a tragic event that I experienced, and I've literally been reading it every single day for the past 10 years, and it's been life-changing. And even though I was in the darkest point in my life, that was the only light that I had in my life at that moment. Yeah, had it not been my relationship with God, knowing my worth in God, knowing that I was valued by God, you know, that kept me going, because I honestly felt like nothing. I was treated like nothing, literally like that. That's what he would do to me, like, oh, shoo, oh, look at you, you know. And I literally felt very, very disgusting. Like, that's how I was being treated. So I felt like I was nothing, you know. But anytime I picked up the book, I knew that, you know, I was loved by somebody. Again, my family members and my friends and family, they were unaware of this, because yeah, I had this thing of trying to protect the narcissist, you know, being able to show face, being able to act right in public, you know, because again, I thought all of this was normal, okay? I didn't realize that this wasn't normal. So I was just making sure that I wasn't ruffling any feathers when I got home. So I played the part of the good partner, you know, because I thought I was doing the right thing. A little bit more light into the story, like, because I didn't know what I was in, I was very naive and innocent to the manipulative tactic. Boy, I didn't even know what standard was. I didn't know what boundaries was. I didn't even know people could exist and have malicious intent and be manipulative. So literally, the way I operate is I like to have a clear conscience. So if someone offends me, even if it's a friend, I need to process that emotion so that I can meet that friend, that partner authentically. So that is the thing that I was doing in my relationship. So literally, I'll take it to God and I'll say, this is what I'm feeling inside. How do I process this so that I can meet my partner authentically? And this is what I was doing daily. And if I was unable to really process that emotion within the day, don't let the sun go down on your anger. You know, I will communicate that to my partner and say, hey, because of X, Y, and Z that you've done, I'm really struggling to meet you authentically. I'm gonna need you to give me till tomorrow. I would literally openly say this, not knowing that in a relationship it's a two-way street, and because they caused the issue, it's not just up to me to morph and make everything right, you know. It was also up to them to change their behavior. But again, I didn't realize all of this was a thing. I thought it was all on me. Lord, thank God for Jemima 3.0. Yeah, that's just a standard that I set for me and God. That's just the kind of relationship I have with him. I like to have a clear conscience. I like to have a clear heart, at least as much as possible, because I know the heart can be deceitful and treacherous, if that's a word. So I always ask God to search my heart, you know, just to make sure that I'm meeting my partner in good faith, not knowing that I'm being manipulated all along. But again, because I was naive to it, I did everything wholeheartedly. That is why I know it's extremely difficult, and I empathize with you if you are aware that you're being manipulated. Like now, because I'm so in tune with myself, my emotions, and aware of manipulation around me, I'm able to put boundaries in place. But it gets a little bit difficult to really meet people in good faith when you know they are genuinely trying to harm you. That's why I empathize with you out there. If you genuinely watched Blue Therapy and you really feel as though you know that this person manipulating you, they have made it aware that they are manipulating you and they are not trying to change, it can be very, very difficult to forgive them and then work together to really move on and stay in that relationship. That's why in the beginning I kind of just said most of these kind of relationships you kind of have to go your separate way, because it chips away at you where you can't really be authentic, okay, knowingly authentic. The reason why I stayed was because I was very naive and innocent to what was happening. As a woman, you put your emotions aside, trying to be as rational as possible. I know it was like that for me. Bringing something to my partner's attention, I would have to write an essay, okay? And this is him offending me, him hurting me, you know, doing something that was very, very disrespectful or a lot. Anyway, me bringing it up to him, I would write it down, okay? Pray over it, revisit it. It was like a dissertation. Revisit it, sift through my thoughts and things that I had mentioned and take some stuff out. Make sure that the words were compassionate, just to bring it up to his attention for him to literally just cow poop all over it and be like, shoo, you dirty little thing. Sometimes the victims of narcissists tend to feel like they themselves have now become the narcissist because they become so calculated and in a way having to tiptoe around their partner, maybe not overshare as much, keep some things to themselves. These things are outside of the victim's normal behavior pattern, but now because they're having to adopt this kind of like behavior or way of living, they start to think that they are becoming the narcissist. I'm here to tell you that is not the case. The fact that you're even thinking about that means you cannot or you could not be a narcissist. The narcissist doesn't have evaluation and self-regulation. What they are doing is right and can never be wrong, okay? Remember, they are gods and we are peasants. So the fact that you're even reflecting to do better reinforces the fact that you are not the narcissist in the relationship. Sometimes they say follow your heart, and sometimes when your heart is in so many pieces you don't know which one to follow. They inflicted that damage on you and now you do not know which one to follow. When you come out of these kind of relationships, give yourself time for your heart to mend, okay? Give yourself time to put those pieces back together, because they took years, calculated time to break those pieces. So don't rush this process, okay? And like for myself, I know like I didn't know myself that much back then, like I know now, especially thanks to therapy and my support system around me, my friends and family. I love you guys to bits, honestly. I know you know that already, but I'm just telling the world that. Like, even though I didn't know myself in its totality, what I knew was I didn't want to lose myself. What the Jemima that was then, I didn't want to lose that, because even though we don't know ourselves totally, we know certain things that make us who we are, right? And that's what I didn't want to lose. My inner essence, I did not want to lose that. I knew that at the core of myself, I was a very peaceful person. I was very calm, jovial, you know, I like to bring peace into people's life as well as my own, you know, just jokes and fun, happiness, joy, peace, meekness. Those are things that I knew just came very, they were just intrinsic, it's just inherent in me. That's just how I am, just placid, you know. So I knew that when he was pushing and pushing and pushing, I started to become something I was not. I could actually feel that I was becoming something that I was not. It's because I was losing myself. I was becoming this overly accommodating person. Literally no boundaries whatsoever. A shapeshifter, a chameleon, literally, you know. Oh lordy. And I was literally driven to a point where I just felt like I literally had this amount of light left before it would be quenched like that. But I needed to hold on to that. And I did hold on to that. And I literally used to tell myself, I don't want this light to be quenched. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know who I am anymore. But I literally have this ounce of light left. I don't want you to quench it. And it was literally at this point when I found Breeny Lee's video. And that was when I had this epiphany. I was like, oh my God, so I was not crazy all this time. What? What's going on? What is going on? And yeah, so it kind of just ignited this little bit of hope for me, you know, at that moment in time. Obviously, I was listening to sermons. I love my Stephen Furtick, you know. I was really trying to sow and pour back into myself, you know. But sometimes you needed to get the psychological side of things, you know. And I had not tapped into that area of YouTube. And it was literally Breeny Lee's video that segued into that arena, where literally right now I'm swamped. Literally my whole timeline is full of like psychotherapy analysis and stuff like that. I love it. I literally geek out on stuff like that. I could talk about it. Oh, and I'm doing it right now. Yeah, so even though I didn't know entirely what I was going through, I knew that there was hope because there was someone on the other side of the camera who knew what I was going through, okay? Their story resonated with me, therefore it made me feel a little bit sane. So as much as I was in darkness at that moment in time, I knew I could hold on to the light that I had left in me. They love being in your head, and I know this was my downfall in that relationship because I'm an open person, especially to my loved ones and people who are close to me. I like to articulate my emotions and tell you what I'm thinking, because when you asked me what are you thinking, I genuinely believe you want to know what I'm thinking. The way my mind used to process it is, if I'm sharing this with you, you will not misunderstand or misconstrue my actions, because now you know me and now you know that I am not being malicious. Not knowing that in oversharing and sharing all these innermost parts of my mind with this person, this was exactly where they needed me to be, because they knew what my next move would be. They knew what they needed to do in order to counteract that move. And I didn't know that all of this was literally, I was playing, it was a game of chess and I was the pawn. I don't play chess, you see. And I was naive, you know, I was innocent, and I thought that having this kind of mindset will help them help me, because I had this fear of being misunderstood, a very big fear of that, like people misunderstanding me. But when I really realized that actually I had no control over what people decide or what image someone decides to form of me, I can only control my own mindset, my behavior. I can only take accountability of my part to play in a certain scenario or my part to play in my own life. When I realized that, it was so freeing for me, because I always used to think I needed to go above and beyond to help people understand me more, thinking that I was this complicated creature, not knowing that I had no control over it. I could never control how people understood me, and actually they will do whatever they want to do. You can share as much as you want to make them understand you more. Some people, especially narcissists, are bent on misunderstanding you because that's their comfort zone. If they start to understand you, then they will need to take accountability for their actions and responsibility for their flaws. So the standpoint that I took was mainly indifference and apathy. Like, I wouldn't invest or really initiate any kind of conversation or yeah, literally it was emotionless for me. And it's so funny, like literally I look back and I'm like, wow, I really did that without knowing what I was doing. Now I do it so easily. But back then I was literally so emotionless. Like, If you want to fight right now, I just say, babe, you know, I'm really not in the headspace to contribute to this conversation right now. And he goes, and I'm like, I can sense that you're quite angry at this moment in time, but I really do not want to contribute to that anger. So I'm just going to read my book in this corner, and I would really appreciate for you to like leave me alone just so that I can read in peace. No, follow me everywhere and further, you know, try to get a reaction out of me, and I'll just be like, well, if you're not going to honor my request, I guess I won't be actively listening. I'm sorry. And then I just continually do what I'm doing. And this used to gripe his kids because he couldn't understand why I was being peaceful. And now that I know the way narcissists are, it makes me understand them more, why that would irritate them, because they're not getting the reaction that they need. I'm literally starving them of their supply. But again, back then I didn't know what I was doing. I just thought, hey, I just got a little bit of light left, you know. I just gotta protect it. Because I remember back then, as much as I wasn't really in tune with my emotions as I am right now I'm able to really name and articulate the actual emotion that I'm feeling, you know, under the hood of the car, really at my core, what it is I'm feeling. And as much as back in the day I didn't really have that quality or skill as much, I still had it in me to know when something is a bit off within me. And that was when I realized that there was just something just festering in me, you know, it was just in me and was just eating at me, but I didn't know what that emotion was. It wasn't disappointment, it wasn't frustration, it wasn't anger, it wasn't sadness, it wasn't rage. It was actually bitterness and resentment, because those were the two emotions that were so foreign to my nature that I had to Google them. I had to Google what resentment was and Google what bitterness was. And then when I went to the actual definition of it, I was like, aha, that's what I'm feeling. And that was at the point where I thought, this is not me. This is not me. No, I cannot let this evil thing just cripple away at my core, at my soul. This is unhealthy. Like my chest would hurt because I was harboring this bitterness and resentment, but not knowing what it was. Because I really just couldn't fathom it, because I was like, how could someone who says they love you push you to the point of you harboring or them contributing to your resentment and bitterness? You know, because at the end of the day, we are in charge of our own emotions, but sometimes people do contribute to that. That's why we should be in tune with them so that we're able to self-regulate a lot better. So I'm not blaming them for causing my resentment and bitterness, but I am saying that people's behaviors can contribute to your emotions. It's up to you to be in tune with your emotions so that you can regulate and bring yourself to a healthy standpoint. Because I had too much cortisol in my system, and it was causing me a lot of panic attacks, and I was at one of my most vulnerable stages of my life, and panic attack was just very dangerous for my condition, and it was just like very reoccurring. But I thought, why am I feeling this way? It's because I had all these things, emotions just suppressed within me, not really able to share it because I didn't think it wasn't normal. I just felt like I had to deal with it all, and I could deal with it all. Yeah, literally it was like this venom in me, you know, the venom was just bubbling in here and just taking over me until it was just left with my core, and then it would just, you know, just. But I was like, no, I'm not gonna let you eat and, you know, just consume my core. I had that little bit of light and I needed to hold on to that little bit of light. I was ultimately in a dark fog, and there's this little lamp here, and I'm trying to get to that little light with the little light that I had, but having darkness all around me. So even though I didn't know what I was doing, all I knew was there is a light, and I can't afford for that light to be consumed by this venom. I was still surrounded by darkness, but I knew that one day everything will make sense. I just held on to that hope, that little bit of hope. One day it's all going to make sense. But for now, my only task is to remain sane, remain at peace, and hold on to the little bit of light that I have until I'm able to get out of this dark fog. As a codependent, you have to remember that a lot of your behavior is enabling. As much as you think you are empowering, you are actually enabling the negative patterns and the negative behavior traits that you despise essentially in your partner. You are actually contributing to it when you enable those patterns. Because when you do this, you are robbing the person of the skills they would have learned had they done it themselves, had they come to those conclusions themselves. You stunt their growth, you keep them exactly where they are, you know? That is what's happening when you're constantly enabling them. Because you've grown up thinking that you need to be responsible for people, especially responsible for people's happiness, essentially. So you want to do everything in your power to make sure that they are happy. And that is not a bad thing. But in so doing, you become, you tend to coddle them, you know. And normally no one really grows in an area where they are coddled, you know. They don't grow, and as narcissists, they will not even respect you. Even if they are not a narcissist, just a relationship kind of dynamic where you're constantly coddling and enabling poor behavior patterns, they end up resenting you, because as much as you think they're gonna love you more, they're gonna feel like you're their mother, you know, like it's just too much for them. And then that's when you think, but all the things that I did for you, I did this for them and I did that for them. But it's because they could sense that it was not your place to do those things, okay? But because you thought you were just being a nice person, it was just misunderstood and misconstrued, and the outcome was not in your favor. And then, yeah, that's what happened with me until I thought, who am I again? Who is Jemima? Who am I? Mentally and emotionally, I was in a pandemic, honestly. I was in a pandemic, you know. I was in a pandemic before we got into this pandemic, you know. Oh, Jesus. And until you get to the point where you're like, I can't lose myself in this. I can't quench the last bit of hope, the last bit of light that I have within me. I can't let this venom eat it up. And it was funny because the first time I came into the light, you know, and I first met people, you know, I had social anxiety, social awkwardness. I was so awkward. Even when I was talking, my words would not flow naturally. It's like I was stuttering. And I was like, what is this? This has never been me. But I was really struggling to really speak to these people that once were my friends. You know, I came into contact with these people. I remember there was kind of like, I think there was an event, and like my words were not coming out. I could tell that I was beside myself and the words were just not coming out, because I had been sheltered for so long and I hadn't had any outside interaction for so long. And it was just so weird to me. Yeah, because I was literally just living vicariously through the words or the updates that my partner would pass on to me when, you know, he came back from the world, because remember, I was in a pandemic. You know, yeah, I just lost touch with the world, so to speak. Be kind to yourself, especially if you have picked maybe some unhealthy life choices that you are not proud of, just to deal with the low moods. Just show yourself a bit of grace. Take your time, okay? You're not going crazy. There are better days ahead, but I do 100% recommend therapy and surrounding yourselves with people who will not take out from your pot but will pour into you, especially at this most sensitive time of your life. That was beautiful. That was a revelation. I hope that this video has helped someone in some way, and I really apologize that it was a very long video, but I'm happy and I'm grateful that you've come to the end of the video with me. If you're still here, thank you very much. You're a real one. I really appreciate you, and I really do hope that this video has helped you in some way. Okay, until next time, take care and God bless. Bye bye.